I want to treat my business like a marathon instead of a sprint. And I don't just mean that in a vague, motivational way. I mean it very literally. I want to pace myself. I want to build endurance. I want to still be here years from now. Still creating, still improving, still enjoying it. The internet encourages the opposite. Everything is built around speed. How fast you can grow, how fast you can go viral, how fast you can monetize something. It feels like if you're not moving fast, you're doing something wrong. Like you're falling behind some invisible timeline that everyone else understands except for you. I thought maybe I just needed to push harder, post more, do more, figure it out faster. But the more I watched, the more I paid attention, and the more I realized that building something intentional is usually a lot slower. And not just slower, more thoughtful, more grounded, more sustainable. I want to build community instead of chasing virality. Because virality feels like being seen by everyone and known by no one. And I don't think that's what I want. I plan to focus on creating something valuable instead of something momentarily exciting. Something that doesn't just spike attention, but actually holds it. And I think that's especially important when you're building something creative. Art takes time, skill takes time, and trust takes time. And I don't think there's a shortcut for any of those things. So instead of trying to explode overnight, I'm trying to build something that will still exist years from now. Something that grows naturally, through consistency and honesty. Something that people can come back to, not just once, but over and over again. My goal is to build something that brings value and beauty to other people and connects us through art. Not just through the products themselves, but through the process of making them. Through the messy middle, through the experiments, through the things that don't work the first time. I want people who enjoy creativity to feel like they're part of the journey. Not just watching it, but kind of living it alongside me. And if a couple things go viral, that's okay, but I think chasing it is the wrong move for my channel. Because I don't want my decisions to be based off of what might perform well. I want them to be based off of what actually feels meaningful to create. Okay, let's get to planning. I don't know about you, but planning is my favorite part of everything. Like, I genuinely enjoy this part almost more than the execution sometimes. I don't start by organizing, and I don't start by making a perfect plan. I just get everything out of my head and onto the paper. No structure, no judgment, no trying to make it make sense right now. Because one thing I've noticed about creative people is that we tend to hold a lot of ideas in our head all at the same time. And not just a lot, but like layers of ideas. Product ideas, color palettes, business strategies, you name it. And we have it in our heads all the time. And it gets loud. And when everything is living in your head like that, it becomes very hard to focus on executing anything. And when everything is living in your head like that, it becomes very hard to actually focus on executing anything. Because instead of doing one thing, you're thinking about 20. It turns your beautiful little cloud of thoughts into something that you can actually see and work with, something tangible. And once everything is on paper, you can start to see patterns and priorities much more clearly. You start to realize what actually matters and what actually just felt urgent in your head. You can use your phone, tablet, or computer. I like notebooks because, for whatever reason, when I digitize something, it just gets lost. I don't know where it goes. I never see it again. The first thing I'm going to write on my list is monetization. For monetization, I'm mostly thinking things like YouTube AdSense and affiliate links. Nothing too complicated at the beginning. Affiliate links would probably be for like art supplies that I already genuinely use. things I would talk about anyway. Amazon's affiliate program requires about 10 posts or videos before approval, which isn't too bad. So that's something I'll probably be able to set up fairly early. Monetization is one of those topics that makes a lot of artists feel a little bit uncomfortable. There can be this feeling that making money from art somehow cheapens it. Like it turns something meaningful into something transactional. But the truth is, if you want to build a creative life that lasts, you're gonna have to do it eventually. Otherwise, creativity has to fight for time around survival. And survival usually wins. So for me, monetization isn't the goal, it's the support system that allows creativity to exist in the first place. I want the income side of this project to grow naturally alongside the creative side. Not ahead of it, not forced, just in alignment with it. Because I think when monetization grows too fast compared to the foundation, it creates a lot of pressure. Pressure to perform, pressure to keep up, pressure to become something you're not fully ready to sustain yet. And I don't want that. I want it to feel stable. I want it to feel earned, built on something real. Next is sponsorships. Sponsorships are another part of monetization that is pretty cool. I would love to get 1 or 2 of these in my first year. Not a ton, not overwhelming. It's still a really big goal, but I'd like to get just enough to start learning how that process works. It will need to be something that I actually believe in and something that will genuinely help you. Because I think people can tell when something feels forced, like immediately. And I don't ever want this space to feel like that. As for pursuing this, I'll probably approach brands that I already know and like. I think that just makes the most sense. Start with what's familiar. Start with what's genuine. I don't know, maybe I'll talk about it when the time comes. On to the next thing. Commissions. Commissions are an interesting thing for artists. They kind of sit in this weird middle ground between creative freedom and structured work. On one hand, they can be a great way to earn money from your skills early on. They teach you how to work with clients, how to meet deadlines, and how to deliver something meaningful to someone else. They build discipline in a very real way, and I think that's valuable. When you're working on commissions, the creative decisions aren't fully yours anymore. You're interpreting someone else's vision. You're balancing your style with their expectations. And sometimes that can be so fulfilling. And sometimes that can be a little restrictive. And there's absolutely value in that. But long term, I want the majority of the art that I make to come from my own ideas and inspiration. From things that feel personal. From things that feel a little bit instinctive. Although I'm only just starting commissions here, I would like to be able to move away from it by the end of 2026. Not completely necessarily, but enough to shift the focus. The commissions I'll be working on will be portraits, at least at first. I may experiment a bit. I kind of want to give myself room to explore that. Children's book illustrations would be pretty fun, and it would fit my style pretty well too. That actually feels really aligned. I think I'll use Upwork for this, so I'll let you know how that goes later. And I really haven't done much with commissions, so if you have any advice for me, please comment below. Because I feel like this is one of those areas that experience matters a little bit more than theory. Next thing is self-production. Eventually, I'd love to be able to produce more of my products at home. There's something really appealing about having that level of control over the process. For that, I'm going to need things like a printer, Cricut mats, a scanner, and some other various little things. And of course, the supplies to be able to make the stickers. And probably a lot of trial and error. But I actually like that part. I like the idea of learning how everything works behind the scenes. And I want this to be fully mine eventually. And not feel like I'm selling part of it to someone else. But at the beginning, I'll probably be outsourcing production. So the process would be designing the products myself, ordering proofs, making sure the quality is right, and then packaging and shipping them from here. Which, honestly, sounds really fun to me. A little chaotic, but fun. Before that happens, though, I'm still going to have to finish my first 3 to 5 sets. My first drop was supposed to be 3 sets. It may end up being 5 because I kind of may merge the first and the second one together, but I haven't decided yet, and I really don't know exactly what the timeline's going to be for that. So, yeah, I don't know. Stickers might seem like a small product, but I think that they're a really beautiful starting point for an art brand. They're simple, but not insignificant. They're accessible, they're affordable, and people use them in really personal ways. They end up on sketchbooks, laptops, water bottles, planners, journals, little objects that people include in their everyday life. And I love the idea that something that I create could become a part of someone's daily environment like that. Something small, but consistently present. Even for myself, I've always wanted to try bullet journaling. And stickers play with that really well. They add personality to something functional. And I think that's kind of what I want my work to do in general. Through my goals, you'll notice I'm not trying to get overly specific with numbers here. And that's very intentional, because I know how easy it is to get caught up in the metrics. Views, subscribers, sales. Obviously, some things like monetization require numbers eventually. You can't completely avoid that. But keeping the goals broad helps me focus on the process instead of obsessing over the metrics. It keeps me grounded in what I'm actually doing instead of constantly measuring how well it's performing. And I think that's healthier, especially in the beginning. Now let's talk about some longer term ideas. This is the part that feels a little more dreamy, a little more open. My first products will be stickers. But eventually, I'd love to expand beyond that. Bookmarks are something I've wanted to make for years. They feel simple, but also really intentional. Washi tape is another idea. Mostly because I think it's cute and I would absolutely use it myself, so. And honestly, that's kind of my criteria right now. Would I use this? Would I enjoy this? If the answer is yes, it's probably worth exploring. One idea that's especially close to my heart is a foodie planner. This one feels more personal. It would be a meal planner designed for people who love cooking, possibly mixed media sections and custom stickers. Something that feels creative, not restrictive. I know a lot of people who have dietary restrictions. And I know that can come with a lot of pressure and frustration. Planning meals can feel like a chore, and even stressful. If I could make something that makes planning meals easier and more enjoyable, that would mean a lot to me. Like turning something functional into something a little bit more comforting. It's also probably the most ambitious idea I have right now. Which is a little intimidating, but also exciting. Another thing I'd like to make fairly soon, though, is die-cut stickers. And they're kind of already built into my roadmap. So that feels like a natural next step. Speaking of the roadmap, I've actually tried a few different planning systems for this project. At first, I tried mapping everything out with specific timelines and phases. Very structured, very organized, very rigid. But honestly, I hated it. It didn't inspire me at all. If anything, it made me feel kind of boxed in. The system I like now is much looser. Instead of strict timelines, I organize my projects by pages in my creative journal and my sketchbook. Each section represents different sticker sets and updates. And if I decide to change something, I can just rearrange the order. And that feels a lot more natural to me. No pressure, no falling behind. It keeps things organized without making me feel locked into a rigid plan. And more importantly, it does reduce the mental clutter, which I've realized is kind of the main goal of any system that I use. I realized something while I was trying to build these super structured roadmaps. The more rigid the plan became, the less excited I felt about it. And that was kind of a red flag. Because if I'm not excited about the process, how am I going to stick with it long term? And I think that's because creativity needs room to move. It needs space to shift. If everything is predetermined months in advance, it starts to feel more like a factory schedule than a creative process. And if all of this goes to plan, next year I'll be able to build bigger goals and be a bit more ambitious. But I think earning that pace matters. Not skipping to it, but growing into it. While starting this project, one thing that I've realized while starting this project is that building something creative isn't just about the final product. It's not just about what you make. It's also about the lifestyle that surrounds it. The routines you build, the systems you refine, the mindset you develop around creating consistently. They all contribute to your life as an artist and the person that you want to be. Because you're not just building a business, you're building yourself alongside of it. And I think that part is just as important, if not more. I think it's kind of the foundation. So, would you like me to talk about that in the next video? If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.